Hello there and welcome back to Bloodborne. Last time we had felled the vicious cleric beast and had obtained an item for it. That is the Sword Hunter badge. As it states, clerics transformed into the most hideous beasts. So the cleric beast was presumably a cleric of the healing church in its previous life. There was also an item in the arena here that I failed to pick up last time. A drop of 10 quicksilver bullets in case you were running low. And as it is, progress this way is barred as the gate and the door to the side are both unopenable. Perhaps Gilbert has an answer for us for a way forward, but for now, let us return to the dream and spend the large amount of blood echoes that we have collected. When first arriving back at the Hunter's Dream, it may be your first instinct to head to the doll in order to level up, as those are permanent enhancements to your character, but in general, it is wiser to head to the Bath Messenger shop here first, and stock up on items, blood vials or quicksilver bullets if you happen to be low, and also to check out any new items. For any badges that you receive, unlock items for purchase in the shop. The Sword Hunter badge that we just received unlocked the ability to purchase the Bold Hunter's Mark, that antidote up there, the hand lantern, which is a very useful item for illuminating an area if you don't want to withhold the use of a gun, and it also unlocked a few weapons, such as this Kirkhammer here. This is the weapon that we will be using this video, and it is a very fun one. The badge also unlocked the purchase of the repeating pistol. It takes 2 bullets and is a fair bit more damaging, but it requires a bit too much blood tinge for us to be able to wield at the moment. And the Kirkhammer itself requires a bit more strength than we have. Thankfully, we know someone who can solve that issue for us.
Welcome home, good hunter. What is it you desire? Very well. Let the echoes become your strength. Let me stand close. Now shut your eyes.
Of course, 2 points of strength are given in order to wield the Kirkhammer that we just purchased. The rest of the blood echoes will go into vitality, because more HP is probably the most beneficial enhancement you can give any character that you make.
Ah, the little ones, inhabitants of the dream. They find hunters like yourself, worship and serve them. Speak words they do not. But still, aren't they sweet?
They are certainly
Farewell,
adorable.
good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
And a bow. It always pays to be polite. Let's check in on the Hunter's Workshop here and see what old Gammon is up to. Oh. Seems he's vanished off somewhere. No idea where. Well, while he's out, I'm sure he won't mind us using his tools. He did give us free license to everything in the dream, after all. Even the doll. Thankfully, we have enough bloodstone shards in order to upgrade the Kirkhammer once. And here we have the Insight Bath Messenger. In exchange for insight, he will give us unique items, such as the Small Resonant Bell, which is the item that allows you to be summoned into another player's world in order to aid them with the level and the boss. Purchasing it unlocks the ability to purchase the Sinister Resonant Bell, which is for invading other players in order to kill them. I'll be going over those items in further detail in a later episode when I show them off. Interacting with the Insight Bath Messenger requires that you have obtained at least 1 point of insight, and from then on he will be available to talk to, even if you do not have any insight, in order to purchase his items. This changed from the way it worked originally before they patched it, where he required 10 insight in order to be seen, and if you ever went under that number, he would be invisible again. There's a line of ritual altars here in the dream that we cannot do anything with just yet. And since there were a few blood echoes remaining, I decided to spend them all on Molotov cocktails, since I was not yet maxed out, and they are a very useful item. So let's go check out our pals Yosefka and Gilbert, see how they're doing, and see if we can't get advice from Gilbert on where to go next, now that our path on the Great Bridge has been blocked.
You're safe, thank goodness. But I'm afraid nothing will change. I cannot open the door. I'll do what I can, of course. Perhaps this will help you, if only in some small way. Now go. I pray for your safety.
If you use up the blood vial that Yosefka gives you, she will give you another if you return and talk to her, which can be quite handy.
Yes, I see. But the Great Bridge is the only way to the Cathedral Ward. And during the hunt, the bridge is closed. You could try the aqueduct. There's a rather, how shall I put it, colourful area south of the Great Bridge. From there, an aqueduct leads to the Cathedral Ward. Not a place you'd normally want to visit, but I don't imagine you have much of a choice, do you? An aqueduct leads from the town south of the main bridge to the Cathedral Ward. Not a place you'd normally choose to visit, but not much of a choice with the bridge closed.
Now, heading through the shortcut gate here would take us to the area that Gilbert mentioned much more quickly than heading this way. But heading this way allows me to show off two things. The first is running past the enemies. Should you have trouble with any encounter in this game, you can choose to just skip it. Just run past all the enemies rather than fighting them. And the game actually aids you in this because most enemies tend to leash to the area that they are in. So if you run far enough away, they will simply turn back and you won't have to actually fight them. As you can see here, only one enemy actually followed us the entire way, the rest stayed back in that courtyard area. This is very handy if you need multiple tries to take on a boss, and there are a lot of enemies before that boss. You can just run past them and head into the boss arena. The other thing I wanted to show off was this shortcut here beside the house with the ladies that laughed at us. This leads to an area with a number of caged dogs, a few of which will break out and attempt to attack you. As long as you can take them out fairly quickly, they're not too much of a threat, but if you let them gang up on you, they can be quite dangerous. So, let's take them out before they have a chance to even do that. Now, this shortcut leads to this area here, which you may recognize. Up there is the area from the bridge where we drop down, and over here is the large house. Taking that shortcut allows you to skip the first part of the bridge entirely. That is the part of the bridge with the two scourge beasts who can be tricky to handle. So taking this shortcut allows you to skip that part of the level entirely, as well as heading to the boss a bit quicker, which can be very handy. Just gonna take out these dogs here. These ones will not actually ever break out of their cages, but they're sitting ducks and they give free blood echoes, so why not? The Kirkhammer's Untransform mode, the Silver Sword, is very useful for dealing with these dogs. Its quick attacks make short work of them, despite the fact that they are quite agile. This dog seems very interested in this house here. Haha, sneak attack.
Oh, you're a hunter, aren't you? Then, well, do you know of any safe places? I've heard I have. Shutting up indoors isn't always enough. Well, if you hunters got off your asses, you wouldn't be in this mess. You're obligated to help me, you hear? So what'll it be? Are you going to tell me you're not?
No?
Yeah, I should have known. You're good for nothing. No respect for the elderly is what that is. Yeah. That little good you outsiders do. Go on, admit it. You think we're all mad, don't you? Well, go and stop it. I know all your tricks.
As it is, we don't really know of any safe places. I suppose Yosefka's clinic would be, but she's not really receptive to having guests at the moment. And so we enter the Yharnam sewers proper. Last episode we made a foray into a side area of the sewers. That was where the Hunter's armor set was located, and where we first met this enemy type, the large huntsman. As I said before, they're not too difficult to deal with, as a single hit from pretty much any weapon will stun them, allowing them to be easily stun-locked. As it is, the untransformed mode of the Kirkhammer the Silver Sword would have been better to deal with him, as it would have stunned him just as well as the hammer, and offered quicker strikes. The transform mode of the Kirkhammer is really made for the absolute largest of enemies. Enemies such as the brick trolls, for example. Most weapons would take multiple hits to stun them, but the transform mode of the Kirkhammer will stun them in a single hit, making them much easier to take out. But small enemies such as the regular huntsman and even the large huntsman are better taken out with the untransformed mode of the Kirkhammer due to its quicker strikes. And it's getting a bit dark here in the sewers. Having a light source would certainly be useful, so let's equip that hand lantern that we purchased. Although it provides much less illumination than the torch does, it does not take up the left hand, leaving you free to use your firearm, which is very convenient. A fun fact about the hand lantern. Previously, before a certain patch they did, there was a hidden weight system in the game where every item you could equip, including the hand lantern, had a hidden weight value. And if your total combined hidden weight rose above a certain amount, you would receive a stamina regeneration reduction. The hand lantern was notable for being the heaviest item, such that if you equipped it you were imposed with a very heavy stamina regeneration penalty. But a patch removed that system entirely, so now there is no downside to using the hand lantern. And here we have a bit of funniness with the platform actually extending a bit beyond its model. So I end up standing on the air there. Very close too. If I'd rolled just a bit further I would have fallen off and taken significant damage. And here we have some hanging items that can be cut down with physical attacks, as this player message states. They drop far below though, so they cannot be gotten just yet. If you feel like you might fall off when doing an attack, you can also shoot at them with your gun, as that just keeps you in place rather than pushing you forward like an attack does. Long weapons are also effective at hitting them. And up here is another NPC. A hunter like us.
Oh, a hunter, are you? And an outsider? What a mess you've been caught up in. And tonight of all nights. Here, to welcome the new hunter. Prepare yourself for the worst. There are no humans left. They're all flesh-hungry beasts now. Still lingering about. What's wrong? A hunter unnerved by a few beasts. No matter. Without fear in our hearts, we're little different from the beasts themselves. What are you still doing here? Enough trembling in your boots. A hunter must hunt.
Her name is Eileen, by the way. The item that she gave us, the Bold Hunter's Mark, is very useful if you're in a pinch. If you're running low on supplies while in an area, you can use it to warp back to the last lantern that you rested at, and use it to warp back to the Hunter's Dream to restock and resupply. And unlike the regular Hunter's Mark, it does not take your blood echoes. The only way down from the rafters here is to drop down, so you just have to do that and eat the damage. The items that we cut down earlier are further below us, but you don't want to jump down to them just yet. If you do that, making your way back up here safely can be tricky, due to the enemies that are ahead here. These two riflemen can easily snipe you to death as you try to climb your way up without killing them first. So it's best to take initiative and take them out now. Unfortunately, they have a bit of protection in the form of this pole-wielding large huntsman. Thankfully, he is slower than you are, so you can just lead him around and take out the rifleman, and then focus on him. With them dead, it's time to pick up the goodies that they dropped and that were placed in this area. Then we can head back and drop down to collect those items from the rafters. Here we have a few more rats. They're by their lonesome, they're not dangerous at all. And they have a chance to drop throwing knives, which are basically upgraded pebbles. They're rarer, but they actually do somewhat decent damage. And our reward for coming down here is another weapon, the Saw Spear. The Saw Spear is highly similar to the Saw Cleaver, but in its transformed state it has a very distinct moveset. I'll be showing off that in a later video. And here we get a madman's knowledge. This item is your first real hint that something is a bit amiss here in Yharnam, beyond the fact that people are transforming into horrible beasts. I'll just leave that item description there for you to pause it on. We'll be seeing more about that sort of thing as the game goes on. Bit of an odd message there, I wonder what they mean. At any rate, we'll have to head back here and head up in order to get the other item. The only way back up here is this ladder, which, as I said before, if you leave the riflemen alive, they'll easily be able to snipe you while you're climbing up it and finish you off. Bloodstone shards are always welcome, especially early on in the game where they're fairly rare. Even a single upgrade to your weapon can make a significant damage boost. As the description notes, the throwing knives aren't terribly damaging, but they do deal a decent amount. It can be useful for stunning distant targets. Here we have a few more carrion crows, but they are easily enough taken out with the thrust attack of the untransformed Kirkhammer. And there another item on a rafter that you have to drop down to. Speaking of which, I never went back for the one that I missed in the first episode. But it wasn't anything too exciting, it was just a higher tier cold blood item. Maybe we shouldn't drop down there just yet. And if you look above, you can see the side area that we explored last episode, with that item in the distance that I had forgotten to go back for. For now, we'll head up this ladder, see what's up this way. We need a break from the dank, stinky sewers. As you can see, if you give the crows a chance to attack, they can be quite vicious. But as long as you're quicker than them or attack from a further distance than they can attack, they're not an issue. More madman's knowledge.
Wretched outsider. Trying to fool me to open this door. Heavens, the depths of depravity.
And here we have a variant on the brick troll. Rather than wielding a large, well, brick, they instead wield a lump of some sort of masonry. Hard to tell exactly what it is. They're a bit slower than their brick-wielding cousins, but they do more damage if they hit. But their attacks are so slow that they're easily avoided. And as you saw there, the transformed Kirkhammer really comes in handy. It is able to stun them in a single hit, and their attacks are slow enough that it is easy to keep them stun-locked. And here we have yet another shortcut gate, which we have seen before from the other side. If you recognize it, this is the area just before the bridge. And here's the brick troll that was slamming at the door to the courtyard as well. Not a terribly useful shortcut, but it can come in handy.
Who are you? I don't know your voice, but I know that smell. Are you a hunter? And please go look for my mum. Daddy never came back from the hunt, and she went to find him. But now she's gone too. I'm all alone and scared. Really? Oh, thank you. My mum wears a red jeweled brooch. It's so big and beautiful. You won't miss it. Oh, I mustn't forget. If you find my mum, give her this music box. It plays one of Daddy's favourite songs, and when Daddy forgets us, we play it for him so he remembers. Mum's so silly running off without it. My mum wears a red jeweled brooch. It's so big and beautiful. You won't miss it. Oh, and if you find her, give her this music box. Please, I know you can do it.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for her. And we might as well equip the music box to our hotbar, in case we need to take it out in a hurry. And given the names that are engraved on the music box, this girl here is presumably Gascoigne's daughter. He was the hunter that we summoned last video to help take out the cleric beast. Wonder what happened to him. At any rate, heading back down here, we no longer have any other paths open to us, so no choice but to drop down into this pit of the dead. This here is another place where the transformed Kirkhammer comes in handy. As these enemies are prone, they are easily struck with its charged R2, and R2 follow-up to that charged attack. And they are easily taken out and battered around. Another handy feature of the transformed Kirkhammer is that you can tank through enemy attacks if you're in the middle of an attack animation. So even if an enemy hits you, your hit will still go through, and likely kill them due to this thing's high damage output. Don't think I don't see you guys. Here's where throwing knives can come in handy. They're not too damaging, but they're strong enough to take out weaker enemies like the carrion crows. And with them taking out, these two dead are easily enough finished. As you notice there, that charge attack did much less damage than it did previously. That is because the transformed Kirkhammer abides by a sweet spot rule. If you do not hit with this sweet spot with the head of the hammer, then you will do greatly reduced damage. So whereas before the charge attack did around 240, hitting out of the sweet spot did only a mere 60, so you need to use this weapon carefully if you want to be effective with it. And here you can see me tanking through the enemy's hit to hit them anyway due to being in that attack animation. As an aside, the official term for that mechanic is hyper armor. Certain enemies have that property as well on some of their attacks, typically the larger ones. It's probably best if we don't head down this tunnel. That does not look like something we want to meet up with, if we can avoid it. And at last, we have a useful shortcut. If you remember, we saw the other side of this elevator in the previous video, but were unable to access it due to it being below. Once you have activated the elevator for the first time, you are able to activate it from both sides, regardless of which side the actual elevator platform is on. This makes a very handy shortcut for skipping the sewer level entirely, once you have accessed it. A handy little thing you can do with elevators is to quickly step on the activation switch and make them go up, and then quickly make your way out. This way it's at the top. Should you die and need to use it again, you won't have to wait for it to come back up. I'm sure that won't come into play. I'm sure we'll make it through without any more deaths, though. Here we have a fairly obvious trap with that big boulder in the distance. After spending enough time on the bridge, the brick troll in the distance will push it down, taking out the enemies pretty easily for you. Or most of them, at any rate. With the majority of the enemies gone, it's not difficult taking out the remaining brick troll and his compatriot. You notice there that I successfully staggered the enemy and went up to perform a visceral attack, but it failed. That is due to the elevation difference. If you're at a different elevation than your enemy, such as when you are both on stairs, it can be very easy to miss it. So if you're going to shoot an enemy to stagger them, it is best done on level ground. heading down this way, we come to the other side of that tunnel that we avoided before. If we walk quietly, we can sneak up what was on the other side. And we can participate in Yharnam's favorite pastime, boar fisting. And the man-eater boar is easily enough finished off. If you do come from the other side and face him head-on, he can be quite tricky. The boar possesses a charge attack that does a lot of damage and can be difficult to avoid, especially in a narrow area like these sewers here. So it's best if you come from behind like that. The real reward for killing him is not the items that he dropped, the blood vials, but the Saw Hunter badge. Much like the Sword Hunter badge, it provides additional items for purchase at the Bath Messenger in the Hunter's Dream. And remember how I said before that you could leave messages both to help players and to trick them into falling for traps? This is one of the latter situations. And no, I don't know that from experience. Why would you ask? Pistol attacks are indeed effective against these enemies, but we don't need to use them thanks to the Kirkhammer here. Just sneak up very quietly. Charge R2 to take one out, and then a follow-up R2 to knock the other on the ground and make him easy pickings. As an aside, these enemies can drop not only blood vials, but also bloodstone shards. So if you're looking for bloodstone shards to upgrade your weapon, these are a decent enemy to farm. Bullets are useful for this upcoming bit, so I make use of a mechanic that I haven't shown off before. By pressing up on the D-pad, you can exchange some of your health for 5 temporary bullets that last until you die. You can recover the HP lost entirely with a blood vial, so it is essentially exchanging 1 blood vial for 5 bullets. Wonder what these messages are talking about.
Beasts all over the shop. You'll be one of them, sooner or later.
Say hello again to Father Gascoigne, this time not as an ally, but as an enemy. At this point he has become maddened by the effects of the plague, and so sees us as an enemy. Father Gascoigne is something of a mirror match, wielding a transforming weapon in his right hand, the Hunter's Axe, another starting weapon choice, and a firearm in his offhand, the Blunderbuss, a starting firearm choice along with the Hunter pistol. Although his Blunderbuss does far more damage than ours ever could hope to, if we had one.
What's that smell? The sweet blood. Oh, it sings to me. It's enough to make a man sick.
Take it easy there, Gascoigne. No need to get so excited. After you have dealt enough damage to him, about 1/3 of his total HP, he'll transform his axe into more of a halberd type weapon. In this mode he is much more aggressive and does significantly more damage. His attacks also have enough of a delay that I find it a lot more difficult to properly stagger him in this mode. So instead I take advantage of the Kirkhammer's Transform mode, which attacks just quick enough to keep him stun locked. When you get his HP down low enough, however, that happens. The Gascoigne is no longer a human, it is now just a vicious beast. If you thought he was dangerous before, well, yeah. He's stronger, faster, and more aggressive than ever. And he is extremely adept at punishing heal attempts, as you can see there. So let's give that another go. First order of business is recovering the blood echoes lost after the last death. This can be a bit tricky due to Gascoigne's aggressiveness. You basically just want to lead him around the gravestones until you can get enough peace to pick it up. If you're having trouble with Gascoigne, you can use the tiny music box from his daughter. If you recall, she mentioned that she and her mother used it in order to make him remember. Well, at this point he's too far gone to be restored to sanity. You can use the music box to make him flinch, allowing you plenty of free time to get off hits on him. Use the music box too much, however, and he'll transform early, this time at a bit over half of his health, rather than only with 1/3 remaining. In his beast state, Gascoigne is very strong, very fast, and above all, very aggressive. Dodging him can be tricky with all these gravestones around, so it can be a good idea to head up these stairs here to this area above, which is a lot more clear of obstacles. That said, Gascoigne will hound you relentlessly, and dodging his leaping attacks can be a very tricky business. If you can get your timing right, shots to stagger him are very effective. Another effective strategy is to make use of oil urns and Molotov cocktails. As a beast, he'll take extra damage from fire as compared to physical, and oil urns will double that damage number. As such, lobbing Molotov cocktails will make quick work of his health. If Gascoigne happens to knock you on the ground, you do not want to dodge immediately. If you dodge immediately, he will counter with a leap that will hit you. You will not have enough time to dodge a second time and avoid it. So if you do get knocked on the ground, you want to dodge at the very last minute in order to avoid his follow-up leap. But if you keep your wits about you and time your shots correctly, you can take him down. Goodbye, Father Gascoigne. We hardly knew ye. For killing Father Gascoigne, we got the Odin Tomb Key, which can be used to explore further here in this Odin Tomb. But that will be for next time. So, thanks for watching, and see you then.